Yo, this was a really entertaining game. Knicks versus 76ers went down to the wire. I don't know what was going on in the first half. It was the most unusual game. Imagine shooting like 67% in an NBA game, right? 76ers. Shooting 67% in the first half. 65%. And then you're only up 6 at halftime. But their rebounding was so bad. That's how the Knicks were in this game. And they ended up being like plus 16 on the glass. Lots of offensive rebounds. Somehow the Knicks found a way to hold on after almost choking it away. And they were up like 15 or something at some point early on in the fourth quarter, ending the third. They had completely shifted the tide of the game. And then they decided they wanted to let Philadelphia back in the game. Really huge game here for Embid in terms of offensively. I've always thought that watching him play defense this year has been awful. He looks reluctant to be the rim protector he used to be. But anyways, the Knicks get this win. And it's a tough situation because they win it without anything from Karl Anthony Towns. He was in foul trouble. He hardly played. If I told you that Karl Anthony Towns was going to play 16 minutes in this game against the Philadelphia 76ers, who have their own big man, dominant big man, offensively, and that type of a factor, I mean, this is just wild, man. The Knicks played hard, really, really hard. OG Anunoby was great. Josh Hart had huge clutch moments, getting second chance opportunities, rebounds, moving the ball, finding some open players, some really big shots from like Landry Shamet, that were very, very timely. Mitchell Robinson, always effective defensively. Brunson, he's a volume scorer, so he's going to take a ton of shots. He gets them points when they need them. But man, Philadelphia just it's not a good team, man. It's crazy. They have talent. Tyrese Maxey is a nice player. We know how good Joel Embid is, but the rest of the roster is just kind of not. I don't know. It just doesn't work, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. So the Knicks dominate the glass. The Knicks find a way to stay in it, even though they're allowing the Sixers to shoot 65% in the first half. They kind of figure it out, hang on at the end after they almost kind of gave the game away, and the refs were making some outrageous calls, some strange things like fouls on jump balls, things I don't even know if I've ever seen that before. But I do want to talk about the Knicks. The Knicks have a situation on their hands. Karl Anthony Towns was a non-factor in this game, and the Knicks won. And the way the Knicks won was just by being resilient and tough, which are things we can't use words to describe Karl Anthony Towns. In fact, they made their run when Cat went to the bench, and that's where he sat. And then as soon as they brought him in, he fouls again and gets fouled out. So it's like we got an issue. Your quote unquote best player, I don't know, some people say it is. I think most people tell you it's Brunson, but I mean, there's a conversation to be had about how the Knicks can win games sustainably, where guys like OG Anunoby, guys like Josh Hart have game impact. Game impact doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. Josh Hart only has 10 points, but has like 13 rebounds. And that's major. Like, that's not nothing. These hustle plays, these timely plays from certain guys, and Cat's just not a part of it. Folks, Karl Anthony Towns is not a part of the winning formula for the Knicks on some nights. In some matchups, in some games, he's just a non-factor. And I'm not going to feed into conspiracy theory. I'm not saying you got to fire Mike Brown. Like, if you listen to the Knick fan base, they say crazy things. But this is a game where, like, Cat should have had his imprint on the game. Against a player like Joel Embiid, that status. Against the rival, it's Rivals Week in the NBA. This is the most unusual conundrum. You just traded for Cat. He hasn't even been there long. You've got rumblings about him looking for a new team, or the Knicks looking to trade. I don't know, entertaining trades or not. You barely squeak by the Sixers. And the Sixers got 9 points out of Paul George. Maxey was decent. Edgecombe was all right. He did a nice job. Nothing from the Philadelphia bench. Nothing. No contributions whatsoever from anybody. Limited to no impact. So it was basically the starters for the Sixers, basically carried by Embid offensively. Again, he had the monster game. But the story is the continued rift between Karl Anthony Towns, what his abilities are versus what he actually can do for you to help you win. Karl Anthony Towns is not contributing to winning Knicks basketball. That's tough. That's really tough. That's why the rumblings about him getting traded are loud. That's why the rumblings about Mike Brown doing a shitty job, that's why that's loud. That's why you got guys across the roster, Josh Hart, speaking after game in front of microphones, saying things. This is where we're at right now. People questioning leadership at the Knicks and all that. Look, I don't know about all that. All I know is Karl Anthony Towns is not a part of the winning side of the Knicks formula. And I don't know how much that's going to change, but they really do have to figure it out because the 76ers are not a good team, and you barely squeak by. They just haven't had much success this year. So I don't think you hang your head on this win per se, but you hang your head on the fact that you played tough and beat a rival. That might be worth something. I don't know, man. I'm glad I'm not paying a guy that kind of money and he can't contribute to my team winning. This Karl Anthony Towns situation is not ideal. And the Knicks aren't better because they have Cat. Somehow, some way they're better when he's on the bench. That's wild.